Elsies River community believes Taznay's murder could have been prevented. Let's chat about this some more with Lucinda Evans. She's a community activist and director at Philisa Abafazi-Betu. She's in our Cape Town studios for us this evening. Lucinda, good evening, and thanks so much for your time. And I think the entire country feeling the devastation of this family, of the community as well. All the questions that we're hearing this evening about the suspect, about how he was allowed to be in that community, to be free. This community, this family has every right to be outraged at this point.
Good evening. You know, today is a dark day for our country, for our families, and especially the family of Taznay. We woke up this morning to the news, and every single social media page spoke about Taznay. But the question that we want to ask tonight is the following. You know, we stood on 5th September on a podium with the President where he promised the women of this country that there will be no parole and there will be no bail for serious crimes. And if we look at where we find ourselves today, it is the second month of 2020. In this province, Taznay is the second child within 2 months that have been killed by a parolee. So that's 2 parolees, 2 children in 2020. And the question that we are currently asking, number one, does the Department of Correctional Services have the capacity to actually monitor and track these people when they are paroled? Was he lost in the system? Because for the Williams child of Pelican Park, this person too was paroled and he was lost in the system. And secondly, there was a fundamental promise made to all of us in this country. And we find ourselves tonight as women from this country, as families. You know, how many women, today I spoke to so many women that said, I want to go home, I don't want to be at work, I want to be with my children. And I want to say to the President tonight that we do not want these people to come out on parole. They must stay where they are. And to the parole board, we want to say to them, do you actually do a psychological evaluation of these people before you allow them to come out? Where is the victim-offender dialogues that is supposed to happen? Where is the conversations with community police forums to inform the community somebody like this perpetrator has been released?
Listen, we did have an interview with Correctional Services earlier on in the day, my colleague Shahan Ramkisoon doing that interview, and they said that it seems that this person had absconded and they couldn't keep track of him, which for me is a very scary thing. For one, yes, that he was out on parole, and we're hearing stories about what his previous crimes may have been. We haven't confirmed exactly. Those are just stories. Hopefully at some point we'll be able to confirm what his previous crime was. But the scary thing is that he was able to lose authorities. They were able to lose him. So in addition to just this one suspect, as a community activist, who else might you be talking about, and I'm going to say it in this term, going after in this case? Will you be holding the justice, the system, correctional services to account for this as well?
Of course they should. They should take responsibility for losing this person. They should be coming to Taznay's family and all the other families who has lost family members and children and apologize to them. We are demanding an apology, because how do you lose somebody in a system? How do you, as somebody absconded, who is the officers responsible to have traced this person? Has there been a tracing system in place? No, there wasn't. And so every time when we have these paroled persons out, they come back into our communities and they slaughter our children. How many more children is it going to cost for services for women and children in this country to happen?
Now, we had an interview earlier, my colleague Jeremy speaking to the office of MEC Albert Fritz. They spoke about various programs that they have, talking about safety, talking about what happens during a case when a case goes to court. Do you as a community feel that enough is being done, especially to protect children? I mean, despite the bigger issue, despite the national issue and parole and all of that we are talking about, within the Western Cape, And seeing as you say this is the second instance where a child has been attacked by somebody who's out on parole, what do you think needs to be done in your province by community safety there?
I think much more can be done. One of our biggest fears, for me as an activist that I've journeyed 3 years ago with a child murder, is how long are we going to wait for the DNA? Because the DNA is one of the hold-ups in these cases. Are we needing to come for the next 17 months or 18 months to a court case because the DNA has been a delay? If you look at the Jesse Hess's case, currently there's been another postponement. The amount of trauma that families are undergoing. And so the question I asked when the President said in his 2.5 seconds conversation in the State of the Nation about 1.6 billion available, can that money be used to fast-track things like DNA? Can we build specialized units, get more forensic doctors in, and even upgrade and update the FCS unit of the police services? Because for us, the problem is this man has been caught. Now it's a court case, it starts tomorrow. Then there's this continuous postponement. And some of the cases has direct links to DNA that has been delayed, DNA that one has to wait for. So the question that we need to ask, and that I want to ask tonight, are we going to see the same situation like with Jesse Hess, now with Taznay's case?
All right, and just on a more personal note, the listener, I'm assuming that you've been in contact with the family, you are in the community. Just give us some sense of just, what are they saying? And I mean, I'm sure we can all guess how they're feeling tonight, but just the sentiment coming out of there. We heard earlier from the grandmom earlier, but what do they want? What does the family want at this point?
We have, as an organization, we haven't been directly in contact with the family. We have spoken to representatives that is with the family at the moment. And what the family really wants is answers. They need closure. I mean, they need support in terms of the funeral as well, because no family, prepares that their child will be snatched, will be stolen. So for us, our plea is that we need to come together as communities and support the family with the arrangements. The family is in need of counseling, and thank you to the people that have reached out to the family. We will be supporting the family in terms of court support. We will be there with our placards, because this person should not even request for bail. We shouldn't even speak about bail. And I hope that some of the cases that has been prioritized, that cases like Taznay's case and Jesse Hess's case could be on the priority list as well.
All right, thanks very much for that, Lucinda Evans, community activist there in this devastating story.